The government does not want you to know this, but I think you have a right to know. Millions and millions of pounds of your hard-earned tax money is being completely and utterly wasted on pointless diversity and inclusion rubbish that you absolutely did not consent to. There is a group called UK Research and Innovation that receives £8 billion of your money every single year. It then gives your money to so-called academics so they can do research projects into hard-left, hyper-woke, progressive rubbish. Here are some examples. You spent £842,000 on the Europe that gay porn built, 1945 to 2000. How did the growing transnational circulation of gay male erotica and porn magazines in post-war Europe contribute to the development of a shared identity and sense of belonging among European gay men? I mean, I think we can all agree we have to know, don't we? You spent £759,000 on a study into comics and race in Latin America. You spent £809,000 on a University of Edinburgh study for a project called Remediating Stevenson, decolonising Robert Louis Stevenson's Pacific fiction through graphic adaptation, arts, education and community engagement. You gifted just under £1 million to the University of Westminster so they could look into femme ideas, decolonising sexual and gender-based violence in higher education. Just to round this off, about £177,500 was spent on queer music, queer theory, queer music theory at the University of Southampton, which poses the pressing question. If the composer is queer, is their music queer too? It brings me no joy at all to reveal that your hard-earned money in the middle of a cost of living crisis is being used as the dole for people with blue hair. You go to work every day and pay your taxes so that somebody who probably wants to live in a warehouse commune in Hackney can afford to send their kids to private school. It gets worse. Arts Council England receives £445 million in public funds a year. That money goes towards funding things like Femmes of Colour, a show described as a riot of positivity and inclusivity where white audience members are invited to check their privilege at the door. The people who receive this money are the same ones who scream and cry about government cuts. Oh no, there's a £170 million post-Brexit funding shortfall, piling misery on the UK creative sector. Articles like this, inside Arts Council England's devastating cuts. Well, where? But wait, there's more. Local authorities have spent a total of almost £52 million on equality, diversity and inclusion roles in the last 3 financial years. The civil service reportedly spent at least £250,000 on a diversity employment body called Versida, a, quote, tech platform aimed at job seekers looking to work for employers that place diversity, inclusion and well-being at the top of the agenda. They claim to work with a wide range of other government departments and public bodies to list government vacancies that keep diversity and equality at their core. I would like to thank journalist Charlotte Gill for doing a load of research into this, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. Seriously, you will not believe half of the stuff that there is here. How on earth has a Conservative government that keeps banging on about woke and the culture wars allowed this to happen? You have the highest tax burden since World War II. There is a cost of living crisis, our public services are crumbling, but you and your loved ones are funding the Europe that gay porn built and nonsense about comics and race in Latin America. They are using the line that all left-wing people do when it comes to public money, and prepare for a lot of this, by the way, under a Labour government, all right? They're investing it. That's what they say, they're investing it. They're not investing it. They're giving it to hyper-woke, deadbeat academics so they can fire it out of a rainbow-coloured cannon. Just remember that the next time you see how much tax is taken out of your payslip. Let's get the thoughts of my panel this evening. I am joined by GB News contributor, the wonderful Nana Acquia. I've also got Conservative MP for Romford, Andrew Rosindale, and trade unionist Andy MacDonald. Nana, I'll start with you. I mean, how on earth are people getting away with this? 800 grand on, you know, the old Europe that gay porn built, for goodness sake.
Well, listen, the person that managed to get £1 million, pretty much $1 million, out of this committee for decolonising sexual and gender-based violence, I mean, what does that even mean? What is that but I'd love to hear an example of what that is. They've got almost £1 million for this. Now, years ago, I used to work on a shopping channel, the first job ever in TV, and there was this girl who had the most poshest voice. She was talking absolute rubbish, obviously, but people would buy off her. This is what this is. It's just a load of claptrap, and it's our money that they're spending as well. I don't even know what that is. I mean,
Andrew, I've got to put it to you. I've got to put it to you. This is all going on under a Conservative government. We hear one thing, which is, we're going to have a minister for woke and all of this, a minister for common sense. But we have got here hundreds of millions of pounds going to this guff.
I'm shocked and I'm appalled. Frankly, no government, doesn't matter who's in power, should be spending taxpayers' money on that kind of stuff. The British people would never support it. So who's deciding that amount of money? Well, it probably is people lower down.
But they're in your government.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that Esther McVeigh's listening to this, because she's a great minister to deal with the woke stuff. And I'm no doubt that if she hears about this, she will take action. But this whole thing, Patrick, about equality, diversity and inclusion, the whole thing needs to go from top to bottom. It's not something that the people support. It's not necessary. It's a total waste of public money. It is.
It's a scam.
And I want to see the whole thing dumped. Yeah. And that's the kind of Conservative policy we need for the next general election.
But it's happened under your watch. That's all.
But it shouldn't.
But that's good. But nobody will trust you.
But it has. If I was there, it wouldn't. But unfortunately, some people have let it go through, and it shouldn't happen.
Look, Andy, your views on this? I mean, it's a heck of a lot of nurses we could be paying for with this stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think it just goes back to that kind of fiscal mismanagement of the Conservatives. But just in defence of the UK...
Careful.
I don't work for the Labour Party. I don't work for the Labour Party. But just in defence of the UKRI, for a bit of balance, a lot of the projects that they do fund from this kind of Future Leader Fellowship programme are very, very useful stuff. Stuff like biomaterial patches for failing health, Zimbabwe HIV prevention, supercharged protein bioconjugates for next-generation cell therapies. A lot of the stuff that they fund, 85 to 90% of it is very, very useful stuff.
Where did you get that percentage, Mark?
It was just to throw... Well, 70% of percentages are made up.
You've just made that up.
I gave a scan of the fellowship database, and most of it was science and technology based.
There are a lot of good causes that taxpayers' money can be spent on, but it's not the government's job to take money out of the public's pocket and then dish it out to good causes.
Sure.
If they want to set up as charities and get people to donate the money, great. People can donate to all these causes, but I object to my constituents money being taken out of their pockets and funding all kinds of... If only we had someone... Some of them may well be worthwhile.
If only we had someone who was a member of Parliament for the governing party with us, who could advocate for this in Parliament. I think that'd be excellent, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it, Andrew? That'd be fantastic.
I think one of the other aspects to this is, and again, that is, seriously, just the tip of the iceberg. I could have done 4 monologues on this stuff, all right? Seriously, I probably will in future. But you really have to go looking for this. You really have to go looking for it. And it's buried. And you just think about how quite a few people are struggling to make ends meet in the country at the moment. The highest tax burden, Jeremy Hunt standing there doing his budget, saying all of this stuff, we haven't got the money. 7 billion quid, here you go, the NHS can have 7 billion quid. £8 billion a year goes to stuff a bit like this, Nana.
I know. It's literally money for old rope, and the bottom line is that a lot of the money is going to quite privileged people, actually, who are going to research into something to make themselves feel a bit better about the fact that they are quite privileged. I don't get it, and I really don't, I have to blame the Conservative Party, who have presided over all of this, and then obviously we've got a Labour government potentially coming in.
If you think Conservatives are bad, you wait till Labour come in.
But that's not a defence.
The woke agenda will explode. It's not. But the Mayor of London, you say it's Conservatives. The Mayor of London also spends a lot of money on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, but that's true. He shouldn't.
All of it's wrong.
Would you be in favour of Labour cutting back on things like the gay porn bill?
I think there should be, a bit more regulation on the topics that it is that the funding is dished out on. But I think a lot of the stuff, like I said, on, HIV prevention, on cell therapy research, that is incredibly useful stuff, both for Britain and the international community, that I think we should continue funding.
We should still be asked about it, though, because it is elsewhere. And,
would you like it to go to referendum every time a research proposal goes forward?
I think we should focus on home stuff before we start giving to other people. I think that this country is in such a mess. Have you looked at the country?
What do you mean all of the people listed studied at UK universities?
This country is in such a mess that all these silly little causes like decolonising sexual sexual and gender-based violence in higher education.
The University,
I don't even know.
The University of Westminster is in this borough. So what do you mean at home stuff? The University of Westminster is in this borough. I think that's why the research was done, so we can know what it means.
Andrew, final words, Andrew. Final words,
Andrew. The nub of this. You come to Romford and you ask my constituents if they support the funding for these projects. They would all say no, including most Labour voters.
So why have your government allowed it?
It has to be stopped, and people like me are speaking out.